Hello, my very dear Scorpios. I'm laughing because the energy as I'm tuning in is very lighthearted, and it was like the gang's all here. I hear over my shoulder, the gang's all here. So these are the angels that are really seem to be working with Scorpio. And I'm starting to understand now that there are certain groups that tend to come in specifically for certain signs. The image that I see is of you singing in a choir. You have a little book of songs in front of you, and it's a little book. It's diminutive. And you have a halo on your head, but it's above your head. And you're sitting there singing, ah, and it's like, the reason I'm laughing is because the whole thing is done almost in a farcical way. Because now you showed me you've put your gum under the pew in front of you or under the seat in front of you. So it's kind of like, I'm not really an angel. I don't really have a halo. And this, I think, is really, really relevant to what they're starting to tell me as I'm pulling the cards. Scorpio, a couple of things come to mind as I'm starting this. And one of them is that in this process of you evolving your consciousness, it's been so important for you. It has felt like life or death in a lot of cases because it was the only thing that was allowing you to get out of a state of struggle and a situation that was so toxic for you that it was do or die. You needed to find a way within yourself to break free. And wherever that led you in terms of steps that you took on the earth plane, on the table and chair reality, they would not have been possible had you not made those shifts inside. And that was very much divinely guided. That was very much your higher conscious mind and your angels working with you to get you to that level of understanding. And what they're saying is, this is interesting. It feels very much to me, Scorpio, as though in the process of this evolution, because it was so important for you, and because you were coming out of such a place in which the conflicts brought up so much struggle and so much of the old kinds of fears about doing things right, doing things, being good enough. It brought up old shame, which of course it was all designed to do. Whatever it brought up within your particular karmic experience was there for you to be able to use as a bridge to a higher level of consciousness. That's the way it works. But because it was so difficult for you, and because there was so much in your life that you felt as though you had to really kind of overcome in terms of seeing your worthiness, it made the transition into higher consciousness and the work that needed to be done very serious work. And now I feel like Spirit is saying, lighten up. You've done the work, and part of what you're leaving behind is the heaviness and the struggle around figuring things out, even if it's about figuring things out where you want to go in a more abundant way, in a more loving way, in a more kind way. You can still have the tendency to think about it seriously. And you can still have a great tendency to think about the whole spiritual journey as one that is very serious. And while it is important, it does not have to be serious. And of course, sometimes it will be, but the energy that's coming in with me now, there's so much of a sense of joy and lightening up, and that's just such a comical image that I literally just burst out laughing when they showed it to me, because it's literally like now I'm seeing you with little angel wings on your back, and you're going, oh, they don't quite fit. And yeah, they don't quite fit because we're still human and we're still working through our stuff, and it's all right for it not to fit, and it's okay that you might have put gum somewhere where you shouldn't have. It doesn't mean that you have to be punishing yourself for it. It doesn't mean that you have not lived up to a spiritual purpose or reason in your life. You have got the cards here saying, be fierce in your passionate Be passionate about embracing your choice to be joyful. You have got cards here that are saying, be fierce about it, do it big. It's really literally like I've got on one side, it's interesting, this is not the first time, where I've got struggle, worry, shame, and then I've got in the middle the energy of fierceness and do it big to transition you into angels everywhere, on vacation, seeing things new, for seeing things new, seeing things with fresh eyes. And that you're really being encouraged, whatever discipline you want to apply to your spiritual process, please let it be a discipline that it's a choice to regulate a behavior that supports you rather than just cutting out something that doesn't serve you. Do you see the difference? One is taking something away, and the other one is giving you something to help you, lift you up. And as I'm saying this, I seem to remember the hands from last week, because there they are again. It's that real sense of you have the energy to be lifted up now. And what you're being reminded of is one of the ways to be lifted up is to deliberately lift your own self with your attitude, with stating the things that are, by talking to yourself in ways that are loving and supportive, to really do your very best to avoid words that are limiting, that are negative, that are judgmental, not just about you, but about other people as well. Because when you start talking that way about other people, labeling them, diminishing them, then that also brings your energy down. It doesn't mean you can't discern and state clearly what you think is true of someone, but be mindful of when the energy starts becoming snarky or nasty or rigid, positional in your opinion about somebody. That usually is a sign that there's an aspect of your ego and your personality that's coming up going, is this how you want to feel? Like, you can do this, you can say these things, but how does it really make you feel? Because it's learning to make those small decisions that helps keep your energy up. Now, Scorpio, I'm not sure exactly what this is, but it came to mind as a beginning thought at the early part of the reading. And it was that, Scorpio, you are extremely intelligent and you're very quick to think. And you see nuances. You see a lot of nuances. And sometimes your humor can be quite touche, kind of not necessarily sarcastic or mean, but a little bit sometimes. But it's not even really done with mean intention, but it can come out as, the scorpion sting. The thing is, as you start moving more into the energy of curiosity instead of judgment, as you start monitoring your words, going on a weird word fast. In fact, I'm going to put this card up for you in case you want to take a screenshot of it or write the words down. It's a really interesting way of noticing what's going on in your mind, because every time you start really literally monitoring your language and your inner dialogue, whether it's about you or anybody else, and you make the intention of not using a series of words that have a heavy energy that pull it down, you start really noticing how it alters the way you phrase things and the way you see things. It's actually a really, really powerful tool to start engaging the observer self in a way that is really linked to feeling. It's the word fast. It's like doing a diet fast, a food fast. If you've ever done one, you notice that if you cut food out for a period of time, and then you start going back and integrating foods, you feel your response to them. You notice whether or not you're getting bloated from this or congested from that. You become more sensitized to things that are not in alignment with your well-being. Well, same thing with words. So Spirit is saying, And it goes along with the playful quality of it too. It's like you don't have to be an angel, and you're not meant to be an angel. You don't have to be harsh at it, but you are being asked to be playful with your no, sorry, that's not exactly accurate. What they're saying is look for this process as being one of pleasure. Look for the the underlying shift for you, Scorpio. This is it. The underlying shift for the part of the Scorpio collective I'm reading for is to embrace the idea that however hard you've worked at evolving your consciousness, and however desperate and important it seemed that it be seriously done, disciplined, now you're being asked to shift that and say, okay, the very attitude with which I was doing it is part of the old story. It was the container for the old story. It was a container that kept generating the old story. Now you're being asked to let go of that container, or to shift that container, to open the sides up at least, and start looking at the foundational emotion you are using towards your consciousness evolution and your spiritual growth. However serious and important it is, you are being asked to remember the sacred is not always serious. And this is what they're saying quite specifically now. The sacred is not always serious. The sacred has room for joy and fun, because that is the energy of the sacred. It is one that has room for all good feelings in it, and expansiveness, and that's what joy and playfulness, like heartfelt playfulness, is about. It's about opening and lifting, and that's where I feel this is really guiding you. You've made many transitions, and I'm seeing this in a lot of readings now, and I think this is important for all of us to remember. And that is that we are at a point of transition on this planet in which, however much work we have done to understand at an intellectual level, to deal with it from a psychological perspective, we are now all at a point on the planet where we're having the opportunity to engage in the fundamental changes of how our minds work in order to be able to live that higher consciousness and the liberation and the joyfulness of that sacred higher consciousness in our lives and through our personalities, because that's how we've got to live it. So some personalities will be more serious. Some personalities will be more prone to being more lighthearted. And we see this as, basic foundational energies of the astrology signs. But it doesn't mean that we can't all be joyful in our own ways. It doesn't mean we can't all be playful in our own ways. It doesn't mean we can't all be self-loving and self-accepting and deciding that we want to move out of struggle and into flow. So this is what you're being encouraged to do, and to realize that this is what you're being encouraged to do, point blank. That's it. This is the transition that they are really helping you with right now. And you know what? I don't usually remember readings from one week to the next. I may remember snippets of it, but I'm feeling this is a continuation of last week. And I'm not sure, I'll have to go back and listen, but it's feeling quite familiar to me, but familiar and slightly different in terms of, I'm literally seeing like, okay, the angle is changing a little bit. So that's it. But fundamentally, angels are everywhere. You're being asked to embrace, to let go, to willingly let go of the struggle. And the belief that struggling in your spiritual awareness or spiritual evolution is going to make it faster, it won't. It will make it slower, because struggle is not in alignment with the flow of the divine. So smile full on. Let it reach your heart. Smile from your heart all the way up into your eyes. And that's going to be a good thing for you. Whatever you have to give up in terms of your personality, That can be scary. And now I'm remembering the mirrors, I think, from last week. Yes, that's right. So, whatever aspects of your personality you're needing to give up in order to find that joy, remember there is liberation in whatever loss. And oh, now you've got a new day too. So, you've got on vacation, see things with new eyes. Today is a new day. Look at everything as though it's fresh. This is beautiful. Now, the loss or liberation, I want to say one more thing about that because I do remember this is amazing. I'm remembering last week. Grief was touched on very briefly. And what they're saying now with loss or liberation and grief, please clarify. That grief is a really natural and actually essential process of moving into higher consciousness. And it is essential because it opens the heart to the first wound, okay, which is the belief that we've ever been separated from Source, which is reflected in the separation from our deeper self. It's really only when we experience loss of self. I didn't know this. Loss of self by giving up aspects of our personality that we were very attached to. It's only through grieving that loss that we really truly reclaim a closer connection to our inner self, the self that supports, interfaces, embraces the ego, the personality. It's that higher conscious mind, that deeper self, that higher self that embraces all of us. And it's literally by giving up those pieces of our personality that have been keeping us separate from the awareness that that is part of us that we reunite with that. And so what you're being told here really is this is a practical, tangible way for you to start changing the energy to make it easier to get more into flow. And also in terms of the word fast and choosing to look at things with new eyes, seeing things for the first time, slowing things down and looking at that. This is how you integrate it into your daily life at a feeling level where you get to really zero in on what the thoughts are associated with those words that are holding you back, keeping you attached to that other part of yourself. So I'm sure that this goes for more than just Scorpio, but for some reason, Scorpio, you seem to get a lot of the metaphysical stuff right now that applies to you and to many others. So I'm just going to let that happen. I hope that's all right with you guys. I realize it makes them a little bit longer. But there you have it. The angels have spoken with much love. Scorpio, take care. Have a good laugh. Love you. Bye.